Hi everyone, it's Tracy here from Art Fiber Stitch. I'm looking at these bottles, ex-coffee bottles that I sometimes put beads and things in. Now after my last project, someone said to me they had lots of bottles and wanted some ideas. So I'm looking also at this. These are an old project that never went any further. And it started off with a fabric that I had dyed with gold and green colours, a bit of aqua. And I added in these other colours, as you can see, the brown, the print. I'll use some of that. That one there is just an ordinary piece of material, and I stamped a stamp on it with stays on. That's a really good one for fabric, a ink pad. So I'm looking here and I'm thinking, you could turn an edge under. How could we do this? I don't want to put anything up there. I don't want to go up further because it's sloped. And I just want this to be, a cuff that goes around. So we could do that. I think that's what is looking all right. So I'm just working out how big, it's only tiny, isn't it? Tiny little pieces. So, I'm going to look at some other things that might or might not be good. So I have that glittery mesh. I might put some of that in. What else? Let's see. Well, I found some more of that green that I already had in it, and also that writing, fabric with writing on. Now a nicer, more of a darker green, and this one here, that's really interesting. It's bringing in a little touch of aqua, but we were all pretty much the same sort of colors. So now I'm going for something darker and lighter. I brought in a little bit of black and a little bit of white, a little bit of cream, but they've still got the same colors as a print on them, and that really helps, I think, to add a contrast and make the whole thing pop. So what else can I find here? Yes, something like that. That's a mesh. I quite like that. It's a fabric, a net kind of fabric. Little swatches of different things that have got those colors in. Maybe even a touch of yellow. Here I found this little scrap of foam core board, and I've just cut it to be around about that size. And now I'm going to measure how much I would need for an overlap, let's say about an inch or something as well. So I'm going to cut that so that's a little template. And when I look at something, yes, I'd want it bigger than that so I could turn onto the edge if I wanted. But that's a really big piece for a little tiny thing. I might cut these things a bit smaller, I think. But the reason I put the foam core board underneath is so I can shove a pin in it when I want. And I can try different things up against it. Look how nice that looks, that little bit of fern. Once again, it's too big. I think I could cut that one little swatch into several and use it on different things. So I'm going to start with that. Cutting things into sizes that are more useful to me. Now it's fun to just play with different colours and prints and things and try it different ways and see what you like. But I like the contrast, if you can see what I'm saying there, of different ones up against each other. See, and now to go a dark colour, that would be good. But we'll work on it. But the order that you put things in, look how lovely that green works. And that there's a distinct difference between the ones that go down. So play around with it until you get it similar to the way you like. You can always change. You can use your tiniest pieces. Look at this lovely green. That would look nice beside it. Oh yes. This one is a little bit close to the one near it, but look at this. I quite like that. But that one again is very similar. So Here is my stash that I'm going to be using. Wonderful fun. But I will cut things into smaller bits that I can just pick up and say, yes, I like it. And see how I go with it. Just look at this beautiful vintage one. I can get several pieces out of that. Here's the net. So I have thick and thin, I have plain. This is one from my previous project. That could fit in as well. So I'm going to just rip and snip if I can, or cut if I can't, and make some smaller pieces. See, I'm going to keep that little rosebud there, because that's nice. But that same one I can use a few times, you see. I'll just take that. There we go. But I've got this. Now, I'm going to cut it into another little strip here, so I get some of those colours, but I still have that creamy background. There we go. How about that as a starting point? Now, these were way too big, and I've had them for years and years and years, so I don't mind cutting and reusing them as something else. They weren't what I imagined, but I no longer want what I imagined, so that's okay. A pleasing blend of colours, that's what I want. And this one, it's looking very jungle-y, tribe-like. I don't know. It's developing a feeling, a personality. And so I'll just keep playing with that and see how I feel. This, like I say, this is the fun part, layering things up and deciding what you might like. Can you see the contrast there that I've got? You know, I could use a big piece like this and then layer on top of it. You can see there. Maybe not with that one. Maybe something underneath that one. Maybe we should get some of that black in. Because it's a big expanse of yellow there, we want to cover some of it up. So here it is. Just that tiny bit. We've got some leaf patterns, which is, you know, in it all the way through, isn't it? A bit of leaf, bit of flower. Yeah, something like that. And that I just picked up was just sitting on my table. It's a little bit of a palm frond. So you could add things like that on top. Once you're finished, you could add in some extra things like, oh, I don't know, dried twigs and feathers and stuff. All right, so we start with one end and we pick those first two pieces up and we do some stitching. Now, I am not a very good example of how to do a straight line, so I do other things. And here I'm just doing little stitches from one into the other, but they're like a fan shape. You'll see some close-ups later to show you the different techniques I've used. Sometimes I might do little crosses. Sometimes I'll use a thicker thread. But that looks quite good, I think. Now for my next one. Can you see that the leaf one that I put down and then that cream one, you know, I could extend that leaf out over the cream, and I'm going to do that. It sort of helps blend the different ones together. So I just do some long stitches that look like a continuation of that feathery leaf out into the cream, you know, and also into that aqua one beside it. See? It looks great. Yeah. So I'm looking at that kind of thing. What I can use, how I can attach it. And it's fun. You might want to add more decorative stitches at the end, but as long as we get it together now and have our long strip of different ones, then that's great. Pick it up in small pieces like this, and then I might work on that yellow piece. I'll put that green in between because it's beautiful. There's a close-up of some of the stitches that I used. It's higgledy-piggledy and not very tidy, but it seems to work for me. I like it. So I'm going to put that first half aside, I think, now. I will use that green to join the two together. See how sometimes I haven't joined them straight up and down? There's been on a diagonal as well, and that sort of makes it more random. And I do like the idea of that mesh net fabric and bringing in a bit of this, but I have to remember that my design is only so high, and those little squares like that, they're probably going to have to go crossways to be seen on the design at the end. So once I've got that kind of how I want, oh, I've just dragged in that's that lovely paper kind of stuff. Oh, now what is it for? I think it's for floristry. You can buy it, special fabric for floristry. You're wrapping your bunches of flowers in. So I'll start stitching through. I can actually do quite a few at once here, through those different ones. I'm just going to do a running stitch around that square. That'll help to hold all of those down. Can you see that mesh stuff that I was talking about? I wish I knew what it was called, but I do like it, and I have been using it quite a bit. And it helped to blend that green through into the other. Now I'm adding on that stick that I found and a little organic kind of shell button. But I've decided, I'm looking here, I'm going to put it onto felt and put the felt around. I made it slightly bigger than my template, but then I decided it's not really big enough. I think it can go more. So I'm going to cut a longer strip. I'll pop it around. So you can go further to the bottom. It does round off at the bottom, the jar, but I think that this can go down to the bottom. And I'm going to cut that flap off so that it just meets neatly. Now I won't have a double layer of felt. Now can you see how I've also left an overhang there? That will be because I want to be able to fold the design, flap it over each other when I sew it. So I'm only going to do it from here. Now I've got the felt underneath, I've trimmed it up, and I'm just going to do a blanket stitch here. This one's a little rough and ready. We'll think of other ways to do the others, but yeah, just a blanket stitch with a thickish pearl cotton. That worked. Now I'm going to grab something different. So this is a piece of a yarn, and I'm just putting it on. Brings a bit of yellow, a bit of orange in, but similar colours, and just stitching through it and up and over the edge and through the felt and back through again. Can you see how that makes a nice edge? I think it'd make a great cuff, a great bracelet. But let's have a look at it on our thing, on our glass. I'm going to fold those edges under, tuck in that yarn, and then I'll just sew down that to put those two together. It can be a little tricky to get your needle in, so we'll disguise it. Look at these beads. So I've grabbed a nice coconut shell stained with aqua, that little bead. I'm going to pop it in, and then I'm going to see that little orange one, that's also coconut shell. I could put something like that on if I wanted, some organic material that I picked up. Or I just picked up a piece of jewellery actually that I had pulled apart. Jewellery's a great thing from the op shop to get your beads. Let's have a look at it all the way around. That looks pretty fine, but I'm not finished. I think from every side it looks lovely, but I don't like the top, how it flutes up like that. I did go a little bit high, but I had a plan. So let's have a look. Can you see this here? I wasn't happy that there was nothing there. So I just grabbed some different yarns, very different ones. Velour. Okay, so then I rolled them up together, so that sometimes one bit's on top and sometimes it's another. I wrapped them around and tied a big knot, and then I just did a few stitches to hold it. I left some of the threads hanging out, some of the yarns, and I added in a few little bits and pieces, and it disguises that where I've joined it. Now let's have a look at that. Isn't that lovely? I love that. You know, I've got other bits here that are hanging off, little bits of interest. Like I say, it's a very tribal kind of look, this one, but I do like it. Now, so we have that. It is glass. We could put it as a vase. We could do lots of things. We could keep goodies in it. Just use it as a vase like that would be nice. But if you were using the lid, you know, another thing you could do, I don't have anything here, but you know, you could decorate the lid as well. Yeah, something nice there. I'll have a look. Well, I couldn't find what I wanted, of course, so I popped a little sticker on. You might be able to see it there. But you could do a lot of things. I was going to glue a nice piece of a timber round on it. There's so many options, and we'll get to it when we do one of the other glass jars. Oh, here we go. Every time I'm outside looking for some good light to photograph things, the cat wants to get involved. But here we are, back to stitches, and I really think that worked well. So as a vase or a container to keep something special in, I really think these are a great project. You can use your little tiniest bits of scraps and have some fun whilst you're doing it. And what a wonderful gift for somebody. You know, make something, homemade fudge or something, and pop it in a bottle. That'd be lovely. We'll finish with a few photos, and I just wanted to show you this fun project. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you have, don't forget to press like and subscribe. You know, whilst I was doing this video, I found some other wonderful things, and I can't wait to do something completely different on a bottle next time.